والنور الله لا يعطى العاص لا يعطى العاص فالعلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. This topic, which is the architecture of Usul al-Fiqh, is very, very important because if we do not understand the whole architecture of Usul al-Fiqh and we started to discuss the details of the masail, the issues of Usul al-Fiqh, we will be swimming in a big ocean and we will not be able to know the direction where we are going. So imagine a person who was just thrown in the middle of the ocean and he doesn't have a direction. He might swim all the way, and just before the end he might think that he is still in the middle of the ocean, or he is far away from the end, so he will go back all the way again. Moreover, once we study the architecture, we will be able to master the topic much quicker than studying the details, or starting with studying the details. That's why the scholars normally prefer that students, or encourage, or make it even a must, oblige the students to study a matan in the beginning. A matan is a very short book, or is a very short discourse about any branch of science. And that matan gives you the overall idea, the architecture of the topic. So once you grasp that architecture, or the skeleton, or the structure of the whole topic, then you can move slowly. And the skeleton provides you with the framework. It provides you, as I always say, with the main structure of a big building. You put, first of all, the structures, the pillars and the main parts of the whole building, and then you start fill in. You provide the meat to the skeleton after the skeleton is being built. And that's why they start to, or they oblige the students to start with a matan. And once the students master the matan, then they can move slowly. This is one thing. I give another example of this, which is really a very good example, very powerful example. You know, when, for example, you come to any city, a new city, and you want to know how to navigate in the city you started to live in. Like, for example, when you go to Hajj, Makkah al-Mukarramah, you don't know the overall picture of Makkah al-Mukarramah. You just know where the Haram is and where your location is. As an example, or take any other city in the world. If you start with looking at the picture of the whole city all at once, and you just look at the main features of the city, the main roads of the city, the main directions in the city, this is north, this is south, this is east, this is west, here is that, here is that, here is that, just the overall picture. So this is, you are zooming out to visualize the whole picture in front of you, and then you start to zoom in little bit. This will help you a lot in understanding the details of the picture. I don't know whether we have given the example of a navigator. The navigator, it is true that the navigator is guiding you, the sat navigator is guiding you, but you are just following the navigator without understanding the full picture of the map that you are trying to navigate within. And that's why I always recommend our brothers and sisters that they should try to study a matan, a matan, before getting into the details of that topic. A matan is like zooming out. So you will see the picture of the whole branch of science, and then you start to zoom in little bit. And believe me, my dear respected brothers and sisters, that if you study like this, it will help you to be advanced, or to advance in your study much quicker than getting into the details. Now, let us zoom out and look at Usul al-Fiqh. We said if we zoom out and we look at Usul al-Fiqh, we will see that there are three main subjects. Those three main subjects or topics that are discussed in Usul al-Fiqh normally have been taken from the definition of Usul al-Fiqh. We said that Usul al-Fiqh is a set of tools and principles that enable us to understand the sources of Sharia, or that enable us to extract rulings from the sources of Sharia. So it is a set of rules and guidelines, principles that enable us to extract rulings from the sources of Sharia. This gives us three main subjects. The first subject is the sources of Sharia. The second subject, which is the final subject, which is the rulings that we need to extract, and the set of principles or guidelines that enable us to understand those sources in order to extract the rulings of Sharia. So we have the three circles. Hopefully we can provide you with a diagram of these three sources, of these three circles. Now, if you open any book in Usul al-Fiqh, you will see that there is a discussion about the sources of Sharia, the rulings that we want to extract from those sources, and the tools that serve or that function as the extractors from those sources. So we will find three main topics: sources, the rulings, which is the end product, and the tools. We normally find another main topic, which is the qualities of the person who can apply those tools against the sources in order to come up with the rulings, which is either the mujtahid or the faqih or the mufti. So these are the main four topics of any book in Usul al-Fiqh. Whether that book is written according to the mutakallimin tariqa or to the fuqaha tariqa, whether this or that. Now, the books of Usul al-Fiqh that has been written according to the mutakallimin tariqa or according to the Shafi'i tariqa, which is the tariqa of the Jumhur, you normally find those four different topics almost clear and exclusive to each other, distinguished clearly. So discussion about sources, discussion about rulings, discussions about tools, discussions about the mujtahid or the person who is going to apply those tools against the sources. In the books that are written according to the Hanafi tariqa or tariqat al-fuqaha, you will find the discussions about these main four topics, but little bit mixed together. So the books that have been written according to the mutakallimin tariqa normally start by discussing the lugha. The lugha means the language, because Usul al-Fiqh is centered around the Arabic language, so they have to study the lugha and some details about lugha. That's why, for example, in Mukhtasar ibn al-Hajib, which is one of the, you can say, the most common or famous known book written in Usul al-Fiqh, it starts this discussion. It starts to talk about lugha. Similarly, Al-Waraqat li-al-Juwayni, which is a very famous matin, small matin, very short matin, also starts the book with a discussion about the lugha. And when they discuss the lugha, they discuss so many masail related to lugha And many people, when they study those books, they don't know why and what are they studying. And that's why they spend long time in studying without coming up with a solid understanding of what Usul al-Fiqh is. For example, they start to study the Lugha, and whether the Lugha tawqifi or it is ijtihadi. Then they start to discuss majaz and haqiqa, metaphorical and real. And then they start to discuss huruf al-ma'ani, the prepositions. And then they start to discuss number of things within the discussion related to dua, and then they move to another subject without realizing that they are studying lugha, which is an introduction to usul al-fiqh. Okay, that's why understanding the structure will help you a lot in mastering usul al-fiqh in a very short period of time. Some other books that have been written according to the mutakallimin tariqa start the discussion regarding al-ahkam, and they say al-ahkamu sab'a. Okay, al-ahkamu sab'a. Al-ahkam, what do they mean? Or al-ahkamu khamsa, or al-ahkam of two types, ahkam wad'iyya and ahkam shar'iyya. Al-ahkam, what do they mean by al-ahkam? They mention al-wujub, al-tahrim, al-istihbab, al-karaha and al-nadb. They mention these 5 ahkam: obligation, prohibition, recommendations, dislikeness and permissibility. They discuss these things. Why do they discuss them in the beginning of most of the books of Usul al-Fiqh? You see, most of the books of Usul al-Fiqh that have been written according to the mutakallimin tariqa start with the discussion about those 5 ahkam. Why? After long contemplation on why they started to discuss these things, before they discuss the sources of ahkam, I think, or the conclusion that I came up with is they wanted to tell you what is the final product of Usul al-Fiqh. This is the final product. So you understand the final product before you get into the discussion. As they are going to tell us that, see, this is the final destination that we want to get into, and then we can find out the way to it, which is a very profound and clever way, but it was not explained like this. So the tariqa of, or the tartib, the order of authoring in Usul al-Fiqh, or the order of authoring in any branch of discipline, I find it really very important, because it transfers this branch of science into a narrative, into a story. So you know the order of the story. This happened, and after that this happened, and why the link is this. And this kind of narrative helps the person to master the subject and remember it far quicker than just telling him stories that are not related to each other, or incidents that are not related to each other. So you can't link between them, you don't remember them all, and you do not master the overall picture of them. So as I said, many of those who wrote about Usul al-Fiqh according to the mutakallimin started their books by discussing al-ahkam. Al-ahkam, not as-salatu wajiba, and entering the masjid with your right foot is recommended, disobeying your parents is haram, riba is one of the major sins. Not the details of the ahkam, no. They discussed the categories of ahkam. So the wujub is one of the main categories of the ahkam, obligation. At-tahrim, the prohibition. Permissibility. So those types of ahkam, those categories of ahkam. As I said, as if they are telling you, this is the final product, this is the final destination that we want to reach, and then they tell you this is how to reach to it. As I said, it is a very clever way, but it was not explained why and how they do it like this. Then after that, you will see a discussion about sources of fiqh. And in sources of fiqh, they discuss Quran, Sunnah, Ijma' and Qiyas. Sometimes, for whatever reason, I could not come up with that reason. When they discuss the sources, they start the discussion, of course, about the Quran, then Sunnah, then Ijma', and then finally, at the end of the book, they discuss Qiyas. Why? As I told you, I could not come up with a solid answer for this kind of order. However, the answer that came to my mind is because Qiyas is not just a source of Usul al-Fiqh. Qiyas is not just a source of fiqh, of rulings, but Qiyas is a source and is a tool of ijtihad. That's why they leave it all the way until the end. And the end, they discuss the rulings of ijtihad and the mujtahid, the qualities of the faqih, the qualities of that scholar who will apply usul al-fiqh on the adillah in order to extract rulings. Maybe that is the reason. Some other scholars, they put all these sources together. So they discuss Quran, Sunnah, Ijma' and Qiyas. Then they move to the second topic, or the third topic. The third topic that is normally discussed in books of Usul al-Fiqh that has been written according to the fuqaha, to the mutakallimin tariqa, which is the Jumhur tariqa, is the discussion related to umum, khusus, awamir, nawahi, mutlaq, muqayyad, and so on. What are those things? Those things are rules, guidelines to understand the divine text. So umum khusus, general and specific, mutlaq, muqayyad, conditional, unconditional, awamir, nawahi, commands and prohibitions. These are tools to understand the divine text. So as if they are saying now, once we discussed the sources of Usul al-Fiqh, we need now to move to the tools that we need to apply on those sources in order to come up with the categories of ahkam. Okay, that's why they discuss these matters: general, specific, conditional, unconditional, awamir, nawahi, commands, prohibitions, and so on. And this particular part of Usul al-Fiqh is, you can say, is the longest, because this is the divine text. There are so many rules and guidelines to understand the divine text. The divine text, we are talking about Quran, Sunnah, and maybe Ijma'. If we look at Quran and Sunnah, they are in Arabic language. They were revealed in Arabic language. Arabic language is so vast, so huge, so deep, so simple and sophisticated in the same time. That's why this part is so huge, so complicated, so detailed, and so on. So this is the second main part. The third part is the discussion related to, or the fourth part, is the discussion related to the qualities of a mujtahid. The qualities of that scholar who is going to use those tools to implement them or to use them to extract the rulings from the divine text. So this is known as the mujtahid, or the mujtahid scholar, or sometimes the mufti. So they discuss the mujtahid, and they need to discuss the mufti. When they discuss the mufti, they need to discuss the issue of the person, the lay person who is asking the mufti. So they discuss all these people. Now, if we want to discuss the mujtahid, the one who is making ijtihad, we have to discuss ijtihad itself. What does it mean? And when we discuss ijtihad, we discuss taqleed, blind following, and matters related to it. So those issues are discussed all together. Okay? So now we understand why scholars of Usul al-Fiqh discuss these matters. So these four main topics are the main topics of any book of Usul al-Fiqh, and this is the order of them according to the tariqa or the methodology of the mutakallimin, which is the tariqa of al-Jumhur, as we said. Now, the Ahnaf tariqa, normally they start with the tools they apply on the divine text. So they discuss al-awamir, wal-nawahi, al-umum, wal-khusus, general, specific, mutlaq, muqayyad, and so on. And then they start to discuss the adilla or the sources. And as I told you, that the tariqa of the Hanafis is mainly or is heavily dependent on furu' fiqhiyya, mentioning fiqhi rulings, and from the fiqhi rulings they are extracting the conclusion or the general guideline or ruling that those furu' fiqhiyya, those detailed fiqhi matters have been extracted. This is their tariqa. And this is their tariqa in Usul al-Fiqh. However, their tariqa in ordering or in putting the order of Usul al-Fiqh in their books, or their tariqa in the orders of their books is sometimes similar to the tariqa of the mutakallimin, with some more differences. And as I said, it is not that exclusive. Those four topics are not exclusive from each other, or they are not apparently exclusive from each other. I don't want to get into much details about this tariqa and the first tariqa, because it might create some confusion, but that might be enough. And once we understand this, we can understand how we will proceed. We are going to follow a tariqa that is, you can say, closer to the Jumhur tariqa. However, it is very helpful to understand the Hanafi way of ordering their books. So the tariqa that we are going to mention is very useful for both. Now, see, once we talk about the tariqa, the methodology of structuring, the methodology of the architecture of the whole branch of Usul al-Fiqh, we are not talking about the tariqa of extracting or concluding Usul al-Fiqh. La. No, we are talking about the tariqa of the book of Usul al-Fiqh, or the books of Usul al-Fiqh themselves. And the tariqa that we are going to follow will be helpful for any student, whether he wants to further his study according to the Hanafi methodology or to the Shafi'i methodology, or according to any madhab. It will be very, very helpful, but the overall architecture will be a very rational architecture, very easy architecture to follow, very logical structure to follow and to grasp. This is what we are going to do. What is that tariqa? So we will start by discussing the final product, which is the categories of ahkam. This is what we are going to end up with. So you know what we are trying to achieve. Yeah? You know where will be the final destination. That is there. We haven't got into it, but we can see it. As Stephen Covey said in his book of the 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People, start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. So the end should be in our mind. So these are the ahkam al-shar'iyya. Then after that, we will move to the second main topic, which is the sources of Sharia. And then after that, we will discuss the general tools or principles that we need to use them and apply them on the divine text in order to come up with what? With the final products, with the end products, which is what? The categories of ahkam. And then after that, we will discuss the qualities and the characteristics of the mujtahid, the scholar who can use these tools to extract the end product from the sources of Sharia. This is the method that inshallah we are going to follow. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.